Hello! Welcome back to Chunk by Chunk and another episode of my behind the scenes of Chunk Wars series. So, as I mentioned last episode, I had a problem with my old microphone that ruined most of my old development footage. And today I'm going to be showing you the final piece of the old footage that I have managed to recover with the audio intact. And that's going to be the first draft of the tutorial system, along with some very exclusive sneak peeks and unseen areas of my development worlds. So hopefully that'll be pretty exciting. But before we do that, I thought this might be a good chance to show you a quick look at one of the old 4-team playtesting versions of Chunk Wars from the really early development days, which I've never shown on camera before. So let's jump back in time and take a look inside my mind. Okay, here we are then. This is the 4-team development arena, and as you can see, if you're familiar with the map at all, if you've playtested or watched any of the previous episodes, you'll recognise some of the chunks here, but the layout is very different. So you can see we've got these quadrants or quarters, effectively, almost like there's 3x3 boxes within the large arena overlapping on the central lines. So you still have your standard 4 kind of home chunks. You've got the stronghold, the village, the desert, and the jungle. And we also have the nether fortress, the ice plains, and the end. But we have 4 of these ice plains, and we have 4 of the nether fortresses, and they're 2 chunks away from your home chunk rather than at the end of a row. And of course there's double the number, like I said. So this creates a really interesting dynamic in the 4-team version, and it's slightly less it's definitely less balanced than the 2-team competitive version. This is a much more heated, fun, kind of frantic gameplay, really intense. You're watching from all directions at all times, even more so than you have to in the 2-team version, because let's say you are blue team and you decide you want to go out left from your home chunk and you head out this way trying to grab potions from this nether fortress, but the red team decides to go right from their home chunk and they go this way as well, and immediately you're clashing within 2 chunks away from your stronghold. And let's say the green team decide to go left from their home chunk and they head out this way and they get potions over here, and then they decide to push on, and then you've got battles on 2 fronts really quickly, and it makes for a really interesting dynamic gameplay style, and it definitely changes the strategy in the 4-team version. In a sense it is less balanced, like I said, because you can't really cater for a fair single line of attack or approach from any one team. So what I mean by that is, it's that pincering effect. So let's say again, your blue team and red team decide to attack this way, and green team decide to attack this way, and then yellow team decide to come over here as well and start, threatening and pushing, and you're really cut back in this. Oh, hello, there's a ghast. You're really, you're corralled into this corner, nowhere to go, and it's really difficult. But I have seen some amazing comebacks on this 4-team version, because there are more diamonds available at the start of the game in your stronghold chunk to sort of balance that intensity and franticness of the game and get you off to a quicker start. So it's definitely fun, but I think it's less competitively balanced, I guess, is the point I'm getting at. A couple of other things that are worth mentioning. You'll probably notice, if you've seen any of the earlier versions, that this stronghold is a version I don't think I've shown on camera before, actually. This is a really early development version where we didn't have... I don't think naturally spawning melons were actually in the game yet. You could only get the seeds in chests, and they didn't grow in jungles at that point. So I had to find a way of kind of getting them in the game. We've got a base around the tree here, and I took that out to make it even more like vanilla. Pumpkins now spawn as well in, I think it's Extreme Hills you can get them in. So they went out to the Extreme Hills chunk over time. The old versions of the map have got this stronghold entrance still in, so the newer ones, the latest versions, don't have this gravel and cobble here. So you've got a direct run down into the stronghold. And that originally was there because I felt that when teams were bridging out from the stronghold to, say, the desert or the village or the jungle, if they'd gone down and grabbed the ender pearl, they could then ender pearl really, really quickly to the centre, quicker than they could gather blocks and bridge across. But I've seen teams now manage to do it in about the same length of time, so I had to kind of adjust this and speed up the kind of acquisition of the ender pearl a little bit. So after kind of watching games, I was finding the metagame effectively at the start of each round was changing. So that's pretty interesting, and that's been changed. This village you might recognise as being quite an old version. We've got this little house here that's not here any longer in the current version. We've got a blacksmith now. The cave entrance here has been redesigned a little bit, as have the pathways. And we've got torches on this village now as well. The nether fortress is worth mentioning. This is an early development version as well. So this is the single tier, and there's no downstairs here. So it's just the one level with the nether warts in. And there's quite a lot of, I guess, wasted space that I managed in the end to use and come up with a new version of the chunk. And it's actually so old that when I first put this version of the nether fortress in, there wasn't a way of changing the biome type in an area. Like, it couldn't be done. And I don't think even magma cubes had drops at that point, so I had to do things like putting gas tiers, magma creams and stuff in a chest to compensate for when I'd be able to make those changes. And I anticipated that, one day we'd be able to change the biomes, and magma cubes would probably drop things, and because it sort of made sense. Oh, and rain. Brilliant. Okay, well, I guess that's my cue. I think we've come to the end of... Oh, of course. If we stay here, we're in the desert, and it doesn't rain in the desert. Brilliant. Cool. All right. Well, I think we've come to the end of the key changes that it's worth me pointing out. If there's anything else you'd like to know about this 4-team version of Chunk Wars, then do leave a comment below, and I'll try and answer those questions for you. At this point, I think we will go ahead and we will roll the old footage. Hello, welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on a tutorial system for Chunk Wars. What you can see behind me is a 5x5 grid of bedrock and glass boxes, and I've used World Edit to create these. So here we've got a mini arena of what the actual Chunk Wars arena looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this, and then we'll start building. Okay, so here we are. This is the mini arena, and this will be the ground level. So the players will come into the tutorial, and they'll be able to look around at representations of the full-size chunks in smaller scale, in 4x4x4. And I'm going to build the stronghold and the jungle on camera now, because I have a fairly clear idea of kind of how I want those to look, and then I'll work on the rest off camera, and then I'll come back and show you what I've got so far. So I want to go ahead and grab some grass, some cobble, I want some oak stairs for the roof of the house, I want some mossy and some stone bricks, I want to get the tree in here as well, so I want some oak wood and some leaves. So I'm going to knock out this top level of glass and replace that with grass. I want to get a representation of the house here in the corner somehow. So I'm thinking something like that, where you've got the roof and the walls. I could maybe have that sticking out this side actually, just a little bit. Could even do something like that. Maybe that's better actually. Yeah, I think I'll leave it like that. And then some oak wood here for the tree, with some leaves on top. And let's put some around the side as well. Okay, yeah, I'm pleased with that. Then I want to have something that represents the stronghold entrance, which I think I'm going to put here. Put some mossy here, blend to the grass a bit nicer, and then some stone bricks down there. And that looks okay. Let's work on the sides quickly as well. I want some stone, maybe a bit of dirt, maybe some coal, and some iron. So the idea would be to knock out the sides of these, have this look like it's a slice of ground, just like the actual full-size chunks themselves do. And then maybe pop in some dirt here, you know, maybe some coal, a piece of iron somewhere, something like that. So the player will come into the tutorial, they'll jump in here, and it'll look like a mini version of the full-size chunk. So when they get into the arena, they'll recognise some of these features, which I think is really important for the game. Right, so let's work on the jungle one. Get rid of these, and this time I'm going to need grass again, some jungle woods, jungle leaves, some vines, I want some cocoa beans in there, and I'm going to need some mossy cobble as well. So let's use the same process, knock out the top of these, get rid of that glass, put in some grass, and put some jungle wood down here. Go again with the leaves. Try and make the tree a bit flatter this time, because jungle trees have that sort of flat kind of leaf structure. Try and make it a little bit wider. Perhaps I'll come out another block here. Make it look a bit more like a jungle tree if I can. That's quite large, so yeah, that might need to come down a little bit, but I want to put some cocoa beans in, just grow those quickly, get some vines down, and then something that represents the temple in the middle. I don't know whether players are going to be allowed to break blocks in the tutorial and bridge across, or whether I'm just going to use a chest or something and then give them some blocks to bridge over. But let's assume they've got some blocks and they've bridged over with some dirt. The first thing I kind of want them to see as they arrive at the jungle temple tutorial is something similar to what you have in the real Chunk Wars. So I want a representation of the sort of temple in the middle, with some blocks up like that perhaps, some oak leaves on the ground like you get in a real jungle, going through the same process I did for building the actual map. Put in some vines and maybe go down a little bit here, representing kind of you dropping down into the temple itself. And I think I'll go through the same process again for the outside, put in some stone and make it look like the jungle chunk. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with those two. Okay, I'm going to work on the rest of them, and then we'll come back and we'll have a look and see what that looks like. Okay, so here's the end result. What I've done is finished the 11 other mini chunks. I've copied this and put it into my Chunk Wars development world, which is here. You can see a couple of other things there that I've been working on or have used in other videos. Each mini chunk here, obviously the different type. I haven't set the biomes yet, so you can see that the grass in the extreme hills and the swampland isn't quite right. The leaves will obviously be darker in the finished versions. But yeah, we've got extreme hills, we've got swamplands, ice plains, desert, the farmland, the village one, mushroom islands, nether fortress, frozen ocean, taiga, and the end in the middle there. They're all quite fun to make actually. It's almost like kind of building Chunk Wars all over again, but miniaturizing what I've already miniaturized. So yeah, quite an interesting experience. This one was quite challenging actually, the desert temple, trying to get the entrance a sensible size, and have it fit in the space and still be kind of usable, where you could sort of hop up, run around the side, hop up, and then you're kind of on the roof like you are in an actual desert temple or the Chunk Wars desert temple. Yeah, all in all, I'm pretty pleased with them. And so all I've got to do now is copy them around, just make sure I'm really happy with the final detailing on the side. So some of them I haven't quite finished, I want to add in a little bit more detailing, and then I'll copy them around and then I'll move it to the tutorial area, and that'll be me finished with that stuff. Yeah, great. Okay, so I was about to finish up the episode there, and I thought it might be a bit mean if I didn't talk to you a little bit about what was going on here and some of the stuff over here. So this is the final location of Chunk Wars. This is where the arena will eventually go. I've got some interesting map making techniques I want to apply, so I need it in a very specific location. So I'm going to do that when it's ready to go. But these diamond and gold blocks here indicate the edges of the biomes. So let's say this is the stronghold chunk here. So the chunk itself would fit between these green wool blocks. That's the location of the chunk. And then the biome, which is the forest, you can see the tree. The forest would extend all the way out to the edge of these diamond blocks here, all the way there. Then the next one along, which is the farmlands with the village on. Obviously villages only appear in plains, so this is a plains biome, all of these gold blocks, and the chunk itself fits in the middle there. And then you've got 16 blocks between each chunk, in the same way that each chunk is 16 blocks across from there to there. From there to there is also 16 blocks, and then the end in the middle. Yeah, and that's the arena basically. Down here we've got the film set that was used for the teaser trailer. I had another guy helping me out with that. He ran along the glass rail there, filming as I ran through in the Steve skin, doing the little tasks we came up with for the shot sequence. You can see that elsewhere on YouTube. If you just look for teaser trailer on my channel, you'll see that. And if you want to see the film set in a bit more detail, let me know in the comments below, or in fact any of these things in a bit more detail, do let me know. We've got some of the archived chunks here, so a very early version of the strongholds, the nether, the stronghold again actually, some of the end chunk ones, and elsewhere in the world over that way I've got some of the other chunks as well. These are some early versions of the sort of drop-in system, the lobby, the very first version of what the game looked like. So trying to design Chunk Wars, it was 4 teams, so red, yellow, green and blue team, and this was how I thought about where I wanted the resources to go in the world and what each chunk should be and stuff like that. So this is really helpful in trying to visualize what that would look like. And you can see some things have actually changed quite a lot in terms of location since I moved to the 2-team version and ending up with the sort of, you know, the tutorial system we've got up there. This is some location stuff again, and then over here we've got the original lobby I used when I first released the game in a sort of closed beta, which would let people just start the game. It had some of the redstone stuff plugged in, some of the additional game modes, the acknowledgements and sort of thanks for people and the rules. But I'm actually ripping all of this out. It doesn't quite do what I want it to do now. It doesn't fit the front end I'm building for the launch system. So this will all go, and I'll come up with a new system before I launch the game. And then right now for starting games, I'm actually just using this little sort of cobbled together game launch mechanism down here. You know, teams and players drop into the top, you select your teams, and then you fall into this area and you hit the button and it teleports you over to the arena. And for underneath I can do that now as well. So here we are in the red house, and this is the red stronghold chunk, and that's where you start. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given you a bit of an insight into kind of how I build and the kind of things that I do. I hope you'll come back for more, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.